Good job today, man. It's one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
What's up, everybody? A very quiet and boring Monday today with my good friend Ian from Jet Central. What's up, man?
Oh, not too much, man. Nothing really going on in Jetland. I don't know. It's pretty boring.
I mean, we got breaking news, man. The Jets got Connor McGovern back. I mean, that's what this is all about, this whole show.
True.
So what's funny is, first of all, thank you for your time, man. We planned this a couple days ago, and it was like, hey, man, let's talk some draft. Let's talk about, center and left tackle, right tackle. Let's talk about that stuff. And the news comes out today, and I'm like, there's no friggin' way Ian's coming on tonight. You're going to be streaming and making videos, doing all kinds of stuff. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, dude, 100%, man. I'm looking forward to it.
I like the snazzy background now, too, man. You're making moves over there. What happened to the bed and the cat?
So Cat's actually sitting right here. I can't turn the camera because it's like all hooked up with a computer here. But no, so I moved and had to switch some things up, move some stuff around. And so I had this on the back wall at the old place, but bookshelf, IKEA, built it myself. Took a long time, but it got up. And good to go.
So obviously, I got to talk to you about this whole Aaron Rodgers thing. The trade is finally done. It seemed like it took about 20 years to do, but the compensation comes out, and we can go, I guess, piece by piece because people are saying only a second round pick this year, maybe a second round pick next year. First thing comes out is they swap first round picks. Your thoughts on that?
I hate to be that guy, but I was actually listening to Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network kind of give his take on the whole thing, and he kind of made it sound like it was just like a small little throw-in, but to be honest with you, I'm a little nervous with it because you take a look at the needs that the team needs of the Green Bay Packers. It's wide receiver, it's tackle, it's safety. There's a big push from the fan base to go land Smith and Jigba, and that's somebody who a lot of Jets fans are interested in at spot number 13. If it isn't JSN, you're thinking, okay, maybe a tackle because the Packers could definitely use some help there and also get younger on the offensive line. And I'm thinking right now, Skoronski, Paris Johnson, none of those, both of those guys probably won't fall to 13 to begin with. So we're looking at, Broderick Jones from Georgia, Darnell Wright. And then it's like, okay, does Green Bay take one of those guys now? That aside, who do the Packers jump? New England, a team that really needs wide receivers. They really need offensive linemen. So I think there's a chance, unfortunately, that the Jets could miss out on the top 4 offensive linemen in the class. But I do think that there is some potential to trade back even further. Only issue, you have to find a team willing to come up. So I don't, I know it's only 2 picks. It's not the end of the world. It's definitely still worth doing the actual trade for Aaron Rodgers. But I do think there might be a method to the madness from Green Bay's perspective.
No, I think so too. And I was thinking the same thing. Now I'm like at 15, I'm considering, if anything, trading back more now because I think you don't want to start reaching for players. I think all the top offensive linemen are gone, basing on what you think the need is. But I was like, man, this doesn't, you're kind of falling out of that range where you start reaching and start panicking. It's like, you know what, trade back, get more picks, try to get better value down later on in the first round. So you got first round pick swaps. It is what it is, I guess, at this point. Second round pick, we expected that. I think we all assumed that pick was going to go. So I'm assuming you're cool with that, right? That's the Elijah trade. The Elijah Moore trade helps that out a lot too. So
100%.
So then you go on, and then you have a 6th round pick. I don't think anybody really cares about that, right? So that's fine. And we get a 5th round pick back. So that's okay, good. So in terms of value, you raised up a round, which is good. I think where the concern or criticism is going to come in is this next year's pick, where it's a conditional 2nd round pick. If you play 65% of his snaps, it's a 1st round pick. And that, I think, is where you get nervous because, like, man, you can have a first-round pick away for a guy that's not even playing next year. Is that bothersome to you, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think for me, like everybody talked about like a condition, right, on a future pick, which I'm cool with, right? I'm cool giving up a second this year.
Yep.
Cool doing the late round pick swap. That's fine. You know, if you really, if the 13 to fit or the 15 to 13 jump was the deal breaker, I'm fine with that too. And look, I'm all for, you know, a conditional future pick, but ideally, you know, for me, I was thinking third that could jump to a second.
Yeah, me too.
If Rodgers plays, you know, more than a year, or if the Jets win a Super Bowl or AFC Championship, you know, some of the rumors that have been discussed. But when the news, you know, broke, it was like a second to a first, and it's like, okay, you know, fine, it is what it is. And then it's like you look at the condition, and it's like Rodgers, what was it, 65 or more percent of the snaps.
Yep.
It's like, okay, barring any sort of crazy injury here, that's going to happen. So it is a first round pick next year. You know, so now it's just like, you know, again, I'm fine with all the other stuff, but the condition isn't really like a big hurt. Like it's not really that big of a condition, in my opinion, when it's all said and done. I mean, 65% is that's just over half. You know, it's not like 90% of the snaps or 95% of the snaps. It's 65% is pretty damn low. So I'm a little disappointed from that front. But at the end of the day, like the Jets are walking away. They're walking away with A-Rob, an elite quarterback, one of the best in football. Yeah. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, nitpick every little thing. I do think it was like the Jets had to do this.
Yep.
Like missed out. You know, they put themselves here by only shooting for it. You know, for Aaron, and I think Green Bay knew that to a certain degree. So you know, Green Bay walks away with a sweet deal. The Jets walk away with a sweet deal. But I do think if you're a Packer fan, you're probably like loving this situation.
100%. I think Packer fans are very happy. As a Jets fan, I'll worry about next year. Maybe I'm hoping that, you know, Aaron Rodgers seems to be pretty close with the Hackett and everything else. He probably said, you know, maybe he's going to play 2 years. Maybe there are some assurances the Jets think about. Also, I'm curious to see what the contract is, how he restructures his contract, what the money is too. There could be other things that, you know, kind of come in with you. But I completely agree with you. That first round pick kind of like annoys me. And you kind of wish it was a contingency, like Jets made the playoffs this year. Jets made a run, like something a little bit more than 65% of the, you know, plays for a guy that you know is always going to play. You know, he's, you know, it's kind of, you know, that. What are the expectations now? We talked about this in the past, but now it's actually done. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the Jets. You know what our offseason was in terms of free agency. You know, they added McGovern today, which we joked about, but they did that. You're going into the draft. You still have, you know, first round pick, second round pick. What are realistic expectations now for his team? Is it, you know what, this team better make a run into the playoffs?
I mean, I think the answer has to be yeah. Like this is the position that Joe Douglas put this team in. You know, like he's been here for years. It's not like it's his first rodeo or he's getting ready for a second draft. Like, no, he's 2020, 2021, 2022. Now we're approaching, you know, his fourth draft class here. It's time to make the playoffs. I get that the AFC is stacked. I get that we're in a great division, but I mean, man, like we got to get back to the playoffs one way or you know, or another. We had opportunities to go after free agent quarterbacks, Jimmy G, Derek Carr. You know, I don't want to really entertain the whole Lamar Jackson thing too much, but I guess that was like technically an option for the Jets to maybe maneuver and at least inquire about, but they chose not to. They're going with A-Rod. Whether he plays 1 season, 2 seasons, it's still a really, really short window. So I think because you're taking on Rodgers' deal, and granted, it's going to be restructured, it's going to look a lot better. It's not going to be as, you know, nerve-wracking here, not as crazy, but you're giving away all these, you know, draft assets and whatnot. I mean, the expectation to me has to be the Super Bowl. Like you're not making this move to like just barely win the division. You know, like if that was the case, then just go sign Derek Carr, you know, to a 4-year contract and be, you know, extend your window for the playoffs a lot longer. But if you're going out, trading the picks, taking on the deal, getting a guy who's 39, who was 90, in his own words, 90% retired a few months ago here, it has to be Super Bowl at the very least, AFC Championship, in my opinion.
No, I agree, dude. I mean, my expectations are sky high now because this team is loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. I mean, they legitimately are. Like, if you look at just playmakers, there's playmakers everywhere. You're not going to have 22 all-stars on your team. You got to have role players, but they have elite level talent on both sides of the ball. And it's like, then I think the other question I have for you is you have the talent, now it's the leadership and the direction and the coaching. And to me, there's a tremendous amount of pressure on Robert Saleh now because not only do you got to manage expectations of a fan base that's like, dude, you just said it, Super Bowl, AFC Championship. We wanted a run at the AFC East. You want all this. But you also got to deal with Aaron Rodgers and everything he brings to the table. Yes, he's a top-level quarterback. He's also a media target. He's also critical of his teammates at times. You know what I mean? You saw him rip his young receivers last year where they weren't running the right routes. So you got to deal with winning, pressure, time management, game management, and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Robert Saleh's in a tough spot, dude. He's kind of in a pressure cooker right now. Would you agree with that?
I do think so. I think, there was pressure on him last year. Like there were some small rumblings that, there was it wasn't like 100% locked in. Like he was going to be here, for this season. Like I remember hearing some small things like, people in the organization, like so the losing streak is what got to people, I think. And especially with Woody Johnson too.
Pissed me off.
Yeah, I mean I don't want to say they had it in the bag. I mean, it's the NFL. It is what it like. No, you can't guarantee anything really.
Yep.
But no, I mean to go on the losing streak, to look that bad down the stretch in like must-win games, and they're hardly putting up a fight, getting like humiliated at home, humiliated primetime football Thursday night. It was just like so like the quality of football late in the season was so bad. And granted, there was injuries and whatnot, horrendous quarterback play. But at the end of the day, he's the head coach of the football team. He's entering year 3 now with the GM that's been here for years on end. So it's not it's not a situation where, hey, if the Jets get 8 wins, 9 wins, and miss the playoffs, I think a lot of people are going to be fed up. But in reality, I do think just looking at the roster, I mean, 7 wins last year, some losses could have been wins. You can maybe make an argument some wins could have been losses, looking at like backup quarterbacks, the Hail Mary crazy play against Cleveland. I think if you're adding Alan Lazard, you're adding Hardman, you're adding another draft class, you're adding Aaron Rodgers to the mix. Quentin Jefferson's another guy who I like. I think I think the Jets are in a good spot.
Yeah, I think Saleh, to me, still got a lot to prove. You mentioned like that late season tailspin, the losing, not showing up on Thursday Night Football drove me insane. You get a second life, a second chance to make the playoffs. They blow it there too. They don't look prepared. They look like they have no energy. That's a problem. So you're like, all right, you know what? Your scapegoat was the quarterback position. You're a quarterback away from winning. We give you one of the best in the game. So that excuse is now gone. So now it's go win football games. And the next question I have for you is a story that was kind of hidden all this time under these trade talks is Quinn Williams and his contract, where to me, he's earned it. I think he's like your prototypical guy that you want to build your defense around, a young player going into his prime that's going to dominate, one of the best at his position, and he's going to hold out. I mean, he said he's going to. I think right now nobody cares because it's voluntary practices. Nobody gives, who cares, right? You don't start worrying until training camp starts. But what are your thoughts on Quinn, man? Are you ready to give him a big deal now?
I am. I think like you, we look at what he did last season. Obviously, it was elite. And then also you're looking at where he can go as a player. Can he stack seasons like this? I think the answer is yes. I don't think Quinn is Aaron Donald. I don't think he ever is going to be a player of Aaron Donald's caliber, but I think he's pretty damn close. And also he's a homegrown guy. Like for whatever reason, the Jets just don't really seem to hand out the contracts. So they're like, I'm tired of seeing like the Jets let their young talent leave. Yeah. Let's re-sign a guy. He's earned it. He projects well moving forward. He's played in 2 different fronts, 2 different, he's had success with 2 different coaching staffs here. Let's give him the deal and rock.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And then, in this trade package, I was kind of thinking Corey Davis was going to be a part of it just because of his salary cap spot. And then also the Packers' need for a veteran wide receiver. They kept mentioning you want veteran experience. You want like a captain, all this stuff. I thought Corey Davis was the perfect fit for that. Now he's here, and the Jets are going to have to maneuver some cap space now to get Rodgers in the mix, no matter how he restructures his contract. Do you think a Corey Davis is going to still be here? Would they mess around with maybe Carl Lawson's contract? Could Jordan Whitehead be a casualty? What do you think the Jets are going to do with like some cap space?
Man, it's tough. I mean, the bottom line is moves are going to have to be made, but we have to look at the contract restructure of Rodgers first. Like I think, obviously like Quinn's going to be here, but so the extension will kick up, in the future. But another, again, we were talked about it before. What's Connor McGovern going to be getting paid?
Yeah.
Right. Because the big, talk, a lot of the talk early on was that McGovern was going to leave the Jets because there was a lot of money in free agency for him.
Yep.
So for him to be back on a 1-year contract, it tells me that the market wasn't really there, but it also tells me that McGovern's not going to be signing for some like vet minimum deal.
Yeah.
So, because, from his stance, he could very well just sit out and wait for an injury or wait for training camp and see somebody, who misses out on a center in the draft, all these different things. So I think the Jets wanted to lock McGovern in. So not only do we just have to factor in what Rodgers is going to be getting, but what's Connor going to be getting too.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's going to be interesting to see how they do that. There's going to be there's got to be a big name that's either getting completely restructured or going to be gone, unfortunately, because you just have to. It's just the manipulation of the cap. Couple quick draft questions, and I'll let you go. Is, right now, what do you think as the Jets roster, you're looking at it, what is their biggest need going into this draft?
Gosh, man, obviously, like if you were to ask me yesterday, I would have said center. But today, I think when we just look at like roster holes, I think weak side linebacker is a huge one. But I think because the Jets have they have such a small window, because the Aaron Rodgers trade is finally official, I want to be bulletproof on the offensive line. I do not want to be in a situation where Rodgers, we have everything in place. We got the wideouts. We have, the top defense. We have Rodgers, whatever. Like everything is all good, but he's getting sacked left and right. He's being rushed. Plays can't develop. We can't build off the running game because there's no holes being opened up. Yep. Let's solidify this offensive line. For me, I'm going tackle.
Yeah, me too, dude. I could not agree more. I'm all about offensive line because you have the Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton, two guys that, coming off injuries. Mekhi Becton hasn't played in 2 years. Dwayne Brown's a little bit older. I don't want to be one injury away from panicking again, moving AVT or forcing Mac Mitchell. Like the more depth, the better. If you draft a guy this year, guess what? He can still play next year, man. Like you can still have building blocks for the future. So like I don't I don't get like it's right. It's like I'm not mad about it. But would you still draft the center even with McGovern back?
It depends on how the board shakes out. I mean, right now, like if I was Joe Douglas, running this Jets team, I don't think I'm looking for. I mean, of course, you're always looking for developmental pieces, but if we're talking round 2, I think I want a guy to come in right now and make an impact at defensive tackle or something like that, as opposed to drafting like a backup center. I'm not going to be mad at the pick.
Yeah.
But again, just understanding the window is so small. With like the Super Bowl aspirations, let's go get a Pete. I mean, what was one of the reasons why Rodgers was, slowly but surely got irritated with Green Bay over the years? It's because, it seemed like sometimes they would, like the Jordan Love pick was like a perfect example of it. It's just like he was under the mindset, like, hey, let's, we have a first round pick. Let's use it, improve the team, feel pretty good about where this team's going, not a developmental piece that's going to, have to take time to develop on the bench.
Yeah, 100%. And the last thing I have for you is, what are your thoughts about quarterback? They brought in Boyle, which whatever. You have Zach Wilson. Is there any scenario where the Jets draft the quarterback? Because now it'd be a 5th round pick. Do you think that even happen or no?
I think maybe in the undrafted market, like I think they should, get, if there's one in the undrafted market, I would definitely bring one in that you like. The thing is, there's just a lot of money now being invested in the quarterback position. Boyle's obviously not getting paid much, but you look at what Wilson's getting paid on his rookie deal. The Rodgers thing, of course, has to be reworked. I don't know if I want to take, a draft pick, a guy that won't be impacting the team year one, somebody who's going to be on a rookie contract where you're going to have to start paying them. So it's just, I mean, we're now looking at what would be 4 quarterbacks on the roster. Yeah. And then like, if you take like almost like a pie chart, how much of the cap is being delegated just to quarterback, it would be pretty high, like relative to, other teams in the NFL.
Do you think they stick with Boyle? Do you think they bring in another veteran, like throughout training camp or something like that, to be like legitimate backup? Or do you think that maybe they feel comfortable with Zach Wilson being the backup?
I'm thinking maybe like Boyle and Wilson will compete for the quarterback 2 job throughout camp and preseason. Mm-hmm. And if Wilson, I think Wilson obviously is the hope to win the job. But if not, you got Tim Boyle there who already knows the offense and has a good relationship with Rodgers.
Yeah, that'd be brutal, man. Imagine that season on the line and Tim Boyle, Roger gets banged up and Tim Boyle's the quarterback to bring us to the playoffs. I think I'd be miserable. So, first of all, thank you for your time, man. It's a quick recap. I want to talk all kinds of draft, and this Aaron Rodgers all the time now, man. We got to talk Aaron Rodgers. So, I appreciate
Yeah, of course.
For those that don't know you, which is next to impossible at this point, because you're like the man of YouTube at this point. You're going crazy over here. How can everybody follow you, man?
Run a YouTube channel called Jet Central, covering all things New York Jets, just like Tyson here.
So, Ian, thank you for your time, man. Definitely appreciate it. And your level of excitement on a scale of 1 to 10 going into the season.
10. It's got to be a 10, man. 10.
Thanks for your time, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Of course.